Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I hope you are well today. This is the daily coronavirus and UK business update that I am doing every single weekday, typically at 11 a.m. But today, of course, you can see that we are slightly later. We will be 11 a.m. tomorrow, however. So that is my plan, is for it typically to be at 11. But this week I've had to change around some of the times just because I had my schedule already planned. So we are speaking about coronavirus UK business. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Annette Ferguson. I'm CEO of Annette & Co, UK-based accounting firm. I am a chartered accountant and a certified Profit First professional, and I can see a number of you hopping on, so thank you so much for joining me. Do give me a hello if you are joining. I would love to say hello to you. I can see Miguel, I can see Eric, I can see Dale. Some of the other people I can't see just because of my setup here, but thank you so much for joining me. I really, really do appreciate it. So, updates for coronavirus and the UK. Hello. Thank you for joining. Thank you for saying hello as you hop on. If you have been on some of these sessions before and you know that you like what I share, please do share this out to your friends, to your followers. Share this broadcast out to any groups that you are in so that other people can benefit as well. And we can support as many people during this time as physically possible. So my update today, I want to start with furlough, the job retention scheme. This has been open a couple of days now. It opened on Monday morning at 8 a.m. and we've got some updates and some issues that people have come across that I want to go over today. So first off, in the first 24 hours, there was 185 companies who registered. Someone's saying, can you do my VAT, please? Yeah, absolutely. Send me a DM and we can have a chat about that. On the furlough scheme, there was, in the first 24 hours, 185 companies who had submitted claims under the job retention scheme for furlough. It equaled over £1.5 billion and supported 1.3 billion workers in that first 24 hours. However, the interesting thing is that it is believed that around 9 million workers are currently furloughed in the UK. There's 9 million people who will have already been told by their company that they are furloughed. What needs to happen is you need to tell the employee that they are going to be furloughed. The employee needs to accept that, basically because it's essentially a change to their contract of employment. And so there needs to be a two-way communication on that. It needs to be the furlough notice needs to be given to the employee and the employee needs to accept, and then the employee needs to stop all work for the business. They can't continue to do any work for the business whilst they are furloughed. What I have heard some people doing is actually rescinding employees' access to things like email to make it very clear that they are not doing any work for the business. So, changing their passwords, shutting off access to things can be a really good way if you need to prove in the future that your employees were genuinely furloughed. Perhaps you might want to look at doing steps like that as well. Good morning. Thank you for joining me. I do appreciate it. Like I said, if you are hopping on live, please do give me a hello. Give me a hello in the comments. I would love to say hello to you as well. And do share this broadcast out to your friends, to your followers, to your fans, whichever platform you are on. Please do share this broadcast so that everyone can benefit as well from everything that I do share on a daily basis. So that's kind of where we are at the moment with the furlough system. I spoke yesterday about the annual payroll and the issue with the annual payroll. I just want to cover that off again for anyone who was not on yesterday. What we found is that for business owners, for directors who are submitting annual payroll to HMRC, some people submit annually. And for those people that are submitting annual payroll, there's been a problem with the furlough system, with the job retention scheme system. And it means that there's no numbers there for them to claim. It basically looks like they were not employed, even if they're already registered as an annual payer. Now, in about 2016, round about then, the system for payroll changed to a real-time information reporting system, or it was called RTI. And what that meant was that you basically had to start submitting your stuff to HMRC more regularly. However, there was an exemption made if you registered for something called an annual payer. And that meant that as a director, you could just submit one payroll for yourself annually, and then you would be able to do that without being knocked off the payroll system. That seems to have fallen foul of this new system, however, and it doesn't seem that people can claim. Now, I've got some questions coming through. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I've got some questions coming through, so let me just check what they are because I want to make sure I'm covering those off. Funk767, send me a DM. If you can't do it through TikTok, send me on Instagram, and we can have a chat about your VAT. Unthrown Brick says, I pay my staff weekly. Do I need to claim every week? So what we would expect to happen is, the short answer is no. So the minimum furlough period is 3 weeks. So if you're furloughing staff, you need to do it for a minimum period of 3 weeks. When you furlough them, you need to write them a letter telling them they're furloughed, telling them their furlough start date. They need to accept the letter. Then you can roll it. So you might furlough them initially for 3 weeks and then extend that, for example. But what you would do is when you're preparing your payroll, there or thereabouts, you would typically do the submission. But you can't claim every week because you can't furlough somebody for a shorter period than 3 weeks' time. So what I would recommend that you do in your instance is every perhaps 3 weeks you want to reassess it, or it might be that they are going to be furloughed for a longer period of time, in which case you can do it for a longer period of time. You can't claim furlough for more than 14 days in the future, though. So that's something to remember. You can do 3 weeks minimum and not more than 14 days in the future. So I hope that helps on that one. Funk767, can landlords claim? Unlikely you can claim furlough because you're not an employee. So the situation is that furlough is for employees, whether that be an employee of any business or whether you are a director of your own limited company, and therefore an employee of your own limited company. Now, the thing with that is, I truly feel that it's really unlikely that many, many directors are going to be able to furlough themselves, because the only thing you can do whilst furloughed as a director is the preparation and submission of documents required to submit annual and monthly filings. So what that means in reality is that you, under the legislative guidance that was written up on the 15th of April, signed by the government, you cannot, it basically says that that's the only things you can do, which in reality means that you wouldn't therefore be able to communicate with clients, past and current and future. It means you'd be able to do no prospecting, no social media stuff, no marketing of your business, no promotions, like nothing at all to basically keep your business going during this time. So in all likelihood, I believe that it's going to be very unlikely that many, if hardly any directors are actually able to claim under this scheme for those reasons. Because the legislation that was released on the 15th of April, which is the actual legislation, there's been guidance and stuff written before, and people have spoken about grey areas before this, but now the legislation has actually come out. It's very difficult to read that legislation and interpret it any other way because it's very clear. So, unlikely that directors can furlough themselves. Landlords, you're not an employee of anything unless you've got your property in a limited company and you're an employee of that limited company. Then that would be a different situation. What landlords can claim, Funk767, is they can claim they can potentially, if they have a mortgage, have a mortgage holiday, and not particularly much else depending on your setup. So if you set up your properties with business rates, then you would be in some of the premises grants available, but most landlords have not set up their businesses like that, or set up their properties like that. So in your case, probably not very much is the answer. So you're saying some of your tenants, you are a director. Okay, great. So if you are a director then, so that means that, yeah, you absolutely would be able to claim furlough. However, the restrictions apply that I've spoken about. So it would mean that you wouldn't be able to communicate with your tenants, for example. It would give you a lot of problems in actually operating the properties. For example, if maintenance had to happen, if something, a pipe burst or something. So in your instance, technically you can furlough, but practically it's probably going to be very, very difficult to be able to furlough because of the situation, because you can only do the statutory filings that are required. You can't do anything else. So that's probably where it falls down in that legislation. I am going to speak a bit more about directors of small companies shortly as well to cover that off. So back to the kind of furlough updates. I've spoken about the annual payroll situation and how many were filed. Another limitation that we have found with the system is it uses calendar days rather than working days. So if employees are not furloughed for an entire month, using the calendar days versus the working days can give you quite a different answer. Now, this is giving kind of very inconsistent results for people, and it means that potentially employers might be at risk of accidentally overclaiming because of the way it's calculated. Now, it's unlikely to be huge amounts, but the problem is that, if you take a whole company and you have a lot of employees, then it may start to become problematic. So that's an issue. Another issue with the furlough system is if you have less than 100 employees, it requires manual input of data. You can't upload CSVs. And so if you've got 99 employees or even 50 employees, even 10 employees, it's going to take you a while. If you've got 5 to 10 employees, this could take you half a day to actually get everything in and do it. So it is time consuming, and it is going to be difficult. So let me see if I've got any more questions coming through. What can I see? Let's see. Funk saying, yeah, we have over 40 properties. Yeah, so it depends your setup, Funk. So I have some clients who depends on how your business is set up. So I have some clients who have properties who have the properties under business rates and are able to therefore claim the grants under business rates. I have other clients who have a number of properties that are not under business rates, are under a council tax, and therefore cannot claim the grant relief. So it depends on your setup. If you do want to send me a DM, I can look into that further for you. As I say, if you can't send me a DM on TikTok, you can send that to me on Instagram. The link's in my bio, so you can just do it that way. Or you can hop over to the website, which is annetteandco.co.uk, and hit book a call, and we can get on the phone and have a chat. It's up to you. And that goes for anyone else who wants support and who needs a bit of a hand with some of this stuff. You can do that in various ways. DM me on whichever platform you are on, or you can hop to annetteandco.co.uk, click book a call, and then we can have a chat about how we might be able to support you. So that's kind of where we are at this time. So what have I got? I've got somebody saying, can you please answer? Okay. Poppy is saying, this is a kid. I'm live on TikTok as well. And Poppy is saying, this is a kids app. This is weird. It's not actually. If you look at the demographics, it's not just a kids app. So excuse me. I'm just going to take a drink of tea because I've got a bit of a croaky throat. Good morning, Frank. Thank you for joining me again. It's lovely to see you as always. So what we also have is we have over 100 UK opposition MPs calling for a universal basic income for all UK adults. So what they're saying is that they want a flat income for all UK adults during this time, not only because of this coronavirus period, but also when we come out the other end of this, it is likely that people are going to be acting differently, spending differently. It's unlikely that anybody's going to bounce back, as the Chancellor keeps saying that he wants to happen, because we're going to be in a recession. So what they're calling for is a universal basic income during this time, and actually extending beyond as well, to try and support people so that people don't fall into extremes of poverty. So that is being asked as well. Good morning, Bella. Thank you for saying hello. How are you? So we also have, for those of you that are just joining me, by the way, I can see a number of people just hopping on We are talking about coronavirus in the UK and UK businesses, the support that's available, some of the updates, etc., etc. So, and again, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Annette Ferguson. I am CEO of Annette & Co, UK-based accounting firm. I'm a chartered accountant and certified Profit First professional. And I want to try and support you as much as I possibly can. So we've also seen Mel Stride. He is a Conservative chair of the Treasury Select Committee, and he has been urging the Chancellor to iron out the problems facing limited companies at the moment. So the situation with limited company directors is, like I said, the chances of being able to furlough are really quite small. It's unlikely that many will be able to. Thank you. Somebody is saying that I'm so much better than Martin Lewis. I really do appreciate that. Thank you very much. That it is, yes, that is, there's basically the limited company director to all intents and purposes is unable to furlough because of the limited scope of what they are allowed to do, what we are allowed to do whilst furloughed. Therefore, to all intents and purposes, for many, many small businesses, there is no support other than some tax deferrals and a loan, which, for obvious reasons, many people don't want to take at this time. So Mel Stride is urging the Chancellor to sort out those problems. He has also said that there is a suspicion that the Chancellor is seeing dividends as part of tax planning and therefore is not sympathetic to it. Now, this is interesting wording from Mel Stride, because actually, fundamentally, paying a mixture of salaries and dividends is a method of tax planning, but is an incredibly basic one, and one that has been around for a very long time, and one that also the advantages of have significantly decreased over the last few years. So 15 years ago, this was an incredible way to tax plan, completely incredible way to tax plan. Nowadays, there's some marginal gains, but it's not close to what it used to be. So, you know, saying that the Chancellor is seeing it as tax planning, yes, it is in a way tax planning, but it's, you know, it's very, very mild tax planning if we're going to, you know, if we're going to put that label on it. You know, what it actually is millions of business owners using the tax law, and in the same way that it's been done for tens, if not 20s of years. Therefore, it seems like if they had a problem with this part of the legislation, should they not have closed the loophole before? Should they not have put stuff in place long before this so that this couldn't be done? That would be my argument on that. Mel Stride has also suggested providing emergency funds to directors through a pay now, clawback later model, which might involve some kind of self-reporting in the way that the portal has been set up for employees to claim employees' wages, some kind of system that lets you submit a claim, and then they would kind of be able to review it afterwards. They would be able to audit afterwards, and they would have to claw back then any amounts that they needed to. That is potentially a decent idea from Mel Stride, and something that could potentially work as well. So let's see who we have on. Jason Green. Hello, I'm very well, Jason. Thank you. How are you? I hope you are well as well. When Holly's asking when I think lockdown will end, I think it'll be a while yet, Holly. I'm not holding my breath on lockdown ending. That is for sure. Let's have a look. Have we got any more questions coming through anywhere? I cannot see any more questions, but I possibly cannot see questions on Instagram. So my apologies if you're asking questions on Instagram and I cannot see them. I will come back and look at them afterwards. Okie dokie. So what else do I want to share today? I want to share the in March there was an increase of 20,000 unemployed people in the UK, and there was also 1.5 million new universal credit claimants in March. That's an incredible number of new universal credit claimants. These are people who for whatever reason, have not got an income coming in now and therefore are able to claim universal credit now. Excuse me, a huge number of people. Oh, Jason's asking an incredibly off-topic question, which I do really very much like. Asking, who's the best Disney villain? Who's my best Disney? I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that. I am going to have to think about that. The main Disney films I've been watching just now are Frozen and Frozen 2, because my children are really quite young, so I might have to revisit some of the more extreme Disney villains. Charlotte's saying, what do I work as? Charlotte, I am a chartered accountant and certified profit first professional, which is why today I am sharing all around coronavirus and UK business as well. Someone who I can see is called Facebook user on my system, which unfortunately doesn't have a name, so I apologize for not using your name. Says, what bank would I borrow from? Are you speaking about the coronavirus business interruption loan scheme? Let me know if that's what you're talking about, because I will cover that off if you are. Or are you speaking in general? Let me know what that is. I'm very croaky this morning again. So my apologies for that. So we've also seen that a number of people have fallen out with being allowed to claim grants. These are the grants for businesses that have premises. If you are in a serviced offices, you may have fallen out with being able to apply for grants. If that is you, there's currently a petition going around. It has over 12,000 signatures on it. You might want to look that up and see if you can sign it as well if you are in that position. The topic I'm speaking about is UK businesses and coronavirus and the support available and some updates at the moment. So that's where we are with that. Can claiming universal credit affect your credit report? You know what? I actually don't know the answer to that. But what I'll do is I will find that out. I'm going to write that down, and I will find that out, and I will let you know tomorrow on my briefing tomorrow. Can universal credit, I'm going to just write it down, affect your credit report? What I will do is I will let you know on that one, because I'm actually not sure if it does affect your credit report or not. So I will find out. Hi, Joey. Thank you for saying hello as you hop on. I really do appreciate it. So which bank would you borrow from? Yes, for the business interruption loan scheme. Well, the best thing to do is go to your own bank just now if your own bank is in the system, if your own bank is lending under the coronavirus business interruption loan scheme. There are more banks being added all the time. I spoke yesterday about how Co-op, Funding Circle, and Starling Bank have been added. So if you have a relationship with any bank that is currently offering it, I would go to that bank that you already have a relationship with, whether that be your standard bank or whether that be somebody like Funding Circle if you already have a relationship with them. That's going to be by far the easiest and quickest route to getting lending, is to go to somewhere you have an existing relationship with. If you don't have an existing relationship with any of the banks that are offering funding, then it's a tricky one. I don't know how fast someone like Starling Bank is processing applications. I would have thought that any that have just come on are going to want to process them relatively quickly because they know they have the systems to be able to do that, whereas some of the early adopters kind of discovered some issues in their systems in doing it. So I would have thought some of the newer ones that have joined might be faster. We also have heard that Royal Bank of Scotland is the bank that has given out the most loans. They have processed them the fastest and they are paying out. But I am now hearing other banks having paid out as well. So there are a number of banks who are now actually paying out the loans. So worth going to your own bank first, or one that you have an existing relationship with, is what I would say with that one. What else do we have here this morning? We have, I write notes every day to make sure that I cover everything that I want to cover on these sessions. So I'm just looking at my notes. Oh, there has been calls for businesses to strengthen their buffer against shocks. Now, many people might think that this has come a little late because we are in the middle of a shock. But they're basically saying that the businesses that are having big problems now, we've seen a number of high street failures already. I spoke about those a few days ago. The businesses that are now in kind of dire financial straits are those which are highly indebted and or relying on short-term contractors. Now, there's a little bit of irony here because they're saying businesses need to strengthen their buffer against shocks, and the businesses that are having a problem just now are those that have got a high level of debt, except here's a loan in order to see you through this time. Completely disjointed. That does not make sense at all. Those two things just don't work together. To say strengthen your business, don't be so indebted, here, have a loan to support your business at this time. Crazy, in my opinion. But that is where we are at the moment, unfortunately. They're also saying the first priority for businesses that survive this is to build up cash reserves. I do agree with that position. It can be incredibly tricky, though, to build up cash reserves if you are a business that is quite hand to mouth, or if you are in a situation where coming out of this, we're in a recession, you're struggling for revenue, all that kind of thing. What I can say is, even if you only squirrel away, 0.5% of your revenue to start building a cash reserve, even 0.1% of revenue to squirrel away a cash reserve, and you start building that up, that's going to be better than nothing. So, once you come out of this, even just now, if you're revenue generating, what can you be doing to start squirreling away small amounts of a cash reserve so that should things happen in the future, hopefully we won't have something like this again, but should something happen in the future, you have a bit of a buffer in there. Right, I'm going to have a look at questions coming through. I have a friend who registered a business in 2016, but up until last year was in employment, which made up most of her income. She therefore has less than 1 year of self-employment. She doesn't qualify for a new business as she's been registered since 2016. Any ideas? Excuse me. Again, you're coming through as Facebook user, so I'm sorry I can't use your name. Give me a bit more detail about the business that she has, what she does, and let me have a think on what we can do there. Give me a bit more detail on what she does, and I assume that she didn't have anything in her 18-19 self-assessment for self-employed, or it didn't make up 50%. I guess I'm thinking that's probably the problem. There are a number of people in this boat as well, and I know that is being petitioned for too. But give me a bit more detail on the industry that she's in, what she does, because we might be able to find something there for her. Okay, good. Let me just check. Hey, Joey. Hello, Kay Breville. I am very well, thank you. How are you? I hope you are well too. Let's have a look. Where are we? Good. Any more questions coming through? Let's have a look. I don't think so. I think I have got all the questions there. I've got something buzzing. Is that a question? No, it is not. It's just my computer giving me some notifications. Okay, good. I think we have all the questions answered. Do let me know. She's a photographer, and she's a self-employed photographer who has been self-employed for less than a year, basically. So the only things that are really available to her is a VAT deferment if she's VAT registered. She may very well not be, being a photographer, particularly if she's not been she's not been operating for that long. The short answer is it doesn't sound like it. It doesn't sound like there is any support for her. There is a group that's fallen through the net as well, self-employed people who are in this exact position. Either they started up their self-employment after the end of the previously gone tax year, not the one just ended, but the one before that, or exactly this, they were doing both. They had a side business and then they've transitioned into full-time. Number of people falling through that net as well, and it sounds like your friend, unfortunately, is one of those that is falling through that now. I'm sorry, there's really not much in the way of support for that. And, you know, we are seeing that with various groups, and there are various petitions going forward to government. There are various lobbying groups, and there are various people who are kind of shouting from the rooftops for the various groups that exist where support is not widely available at the moment. But unfortunately, that is a situation for that person, is that there really is nothing available at this time for them. Now, you know, we don't know at the moment what else might be coming down the pipe and what else might be available. I am based in the Scottish borders. I am just south of Edinburgh, but we have clients all over the UK. So remote working for me and us is very, very normal. We do it all the time because we have clients throughout the whole of the UK. So actually, for me, this working from home thing is pretty much what I do all the time anyway. That is all I have to cover today in terms of my notes, in terms of what I wanted to speak about today. Anyone got any more questions, please do let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I will sign off. I cannot see any more coming through. I hope this has been useful today. I will be back again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Slightly later. 11 a.m. is the time I intend to be live next week, pretty much all next week. This week was a little bit up and down because my schedule was already sort of planned out for this week when I decided to do these daily updates and these daily lives. I will be, of course, updating you with everything again tomorrow, as I say. Do I work for companies? My business is called Annette & Co. I started about 10 years ago. So yeah, that's where I are. The daily lives, we will be coming back again tomorrow at 11 a.m. I hope that you can join me then. I incidentally also want to mention that I am doing an interview with Katja Varbanova at this time tomorrow morning. It will be all around profitable content marketing. It will be live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Periscope, and Twitter. I don't think it will be live on TikTok because I haven't worked out how to hook up my TikTok to go live at the same time with the interview through this system. I might see if I can rig something a bit ropey up, but I don't know if I'll be able to do that. So if you are following me on TikTok and you want to listen to me interviewing Katja Varbanova tomorrow morning at 8:30, then do hop over to my Instagram. The link is in my bio on there, so you can come and see it there. Everybody else, wherever you are watching, you can see it wherever you're watching now, other than those people on TikTok. So that will be 8:30 tomorrow morning, and then my update will be 11 a.m. tomorrow as well. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your time. I hope that this session has been useful. As I say, we'll be back at 11 for the same session tomorrow, but you can catch me at 8:30 tomorrow morning as well, interviewing Katja around profitable content marketing. I hope everyone has a good day, and I'll speak to you really soon. Take care, everyone.